नहीं सर नहीं यार सर शिवानी ज़्यादा देर नहीं है यहाँ पर
So hello everybody, good evening. Let us start with the current affairs of this revision through MCQs of the months of December 2022. Fine. So today we'll be wrapping up the this 2022 the current affairs. Fine. We have started with the April months and now we are at December. Fine. So 2022 will be covered today. Let us start with the first question for the day. And first question is, kindly read and try to answer it. It's regarding loan write-off from economy section. First of all, we'll see. Fine. So read and try to answer it quickly. It's about loan write-off. Now what does it mean? First is writing off a loan essentially means it will no longer be counted as an asset by the bank. Second is the amount so written off reduces the bank's tax liability. And third option is after the write-off, banks are not supposed to continue their efforts to recover the loan. Now which one is correct here? Yes. So correct here, of course, first two are correct. Issue with the third option is after the write-off, banks are not supposed to continue their efforts. Rather, they are supposed to continue their efforts to recover the loan. Fine. Writing off, remember, is an accounting entry. It's a you know, you can say that just under this, writing off essentially means that it will no longer be counted as an asset for the bank, and by writing off this the outstanding loans, a bank can reduce the level of NPAs on its book, or you can say on the balance sheet. So by writing off the loans, what actually banks does? Actually they are reducing their tax liability, actually they are you know, correcting their balance sheet basically, or the books of accounts. Fine. But it's not like they are not supposed to continue their efforts to recover. Indeed they need to make efforts to recover the loans as much as possible, but remember the chances of recovering from writing off loans are very low. Fine. Because they are already declared as NPAs. So correct here just 1 and 2 option. Fine. Okay. Let us move to the second question. This is regarding e-rupee, launching of e-rupee or CBDC, that is central bank digital currency. Fine. So what exactly is true about this question? Kindly read and answer it quickly. Yes. So e-rupee is an electronic version of cash. Of course, e-rupee, that's why it's a E, that is electronic version of cash, and will be primarily meant for retail transactions. Indeed, it can be exchanged one-to-one with a fiat currency. बिल्कुल ठीक है. Users will be able to transact with e-rupee through a digital wallet. Yes, that's what RBI said. Offered by the participating banks and store it on the mobile phones like we use GPay and PhonePe and etc. Fine, Paytm and all. So this is how. So so all the three options under this, you know, related to e-rupee is correct. Are correct. So correct would be option D here. Fine. Remember, to this only we call it CBDC, central bank digital currency, you can say e-rupee. Okay. Next is GST Council. Okay. GST Council, a constitutional body in fact. Fine. So read the statements and try to answer it. Which one is correct here? Yes. So first is a model GST law on which of the following matters recommend करती है, on which of the following matters this GST council particularly recommends or make recommendations. So a model GST law, बिल्कुल this is a primary a responsibility which rests with the GST council. Then the rates at which the tax is to be levied, fine, and the goods and services that may be exempted from GST, of course. So all the three options seems to be correct here. As I said initially that GST council जो है, this is a constitutional body, remember, and all the major decisions related to GST, be it restructuring the tax rate or restructuring the tax slabs, you can say, or this tax rates, or shifting the items from one set of tax rates to the other, totally lies in the hands of this GST council, fine. Okay, so next question is related to sovereign gold bond scheme, which was introduced by the RBI in the year 2015. So first is, can you read the statements and figure out which one is correct? Sovereign gold bond scheme. Sovereign gold bond scheme. Bond can be used as a collateral for loans. Yes, under this case bonds can be, because you have gold bonds, so of course gold can be used as a collateral. Now the maximum permissible investment limit will be 10 kg for gold, 10 kg of gold for individuals. No, this seems to be too much, 10 kg for individual. No, it's 4 kg for individual, even that is too much, fine. 4 kg of gold, you are taking bonds worth the 4 kg of gold at an individual level, which is in itself is a huge. So 4 kg of gold, not 10 kgs, and both resident and non-resident Indian entities can invest in sovereign gold bonds. Now here we need to see whether both are allowed or not, fine. So both, remember one more thing, it can be used for collateral, as collateral for loans, as I said, and this is totally restricted for sale to only the resident Indians and not the non-resident. So this is wrong. This is wrong. So correct only is 1. Fine, 1 only. That is C option. Next is related to the industry, that is leather industry in particular. So it's among the top 10 forex earners for India. First statement. Second, eastern and west, northeastern particularly states of India are the major footwear and leather products producing states in India. Among all the leather products exported from India in 2021 and 22, leather footwear constitutes the highest share. Now we need to, this seems to be a factual question, fine, purely from the industry, in particularly the leather industry. So we need to see it, whether we have any idea or not. So leather industry is among the top 10. It can be, because leather, textiles are the, the sectors where we contribute, immensely. So of course it can be, on the face of it, can assume to be a correct statement, even if you don't know anything, even if you have basics idea about our setup of the industry, like heavily dependent on this leather and textile, particularly textile, and then leather, fine. So after that we have areas like eastern and northeastern states of India, the major footwear leather products. But remember, major footwear and leather products producing states in India are not the eastern or the northwestern, rather the southern first, that is Tamil Nadu. Then further we push to the West Bengal, West Bengal at second, then UP, Uttar Pradesh, then Maharashtra and Punjab. Fine. So not particularly, if you see among the top 5 names that I mentioned, none of the state you find from the northeastern region, fine, in particular. So that's why this statement is not correct or incorrect. Northeastern, fine. Among all the leather products exported from India in 2020, leather footwear constitutes the highest share. Now we need to check it again. leather footwear constitute the highest share in 2021-2022. So you can get this data from either economic survey or the budget particularly. So of course, remember leather footwear constitute the highest share, and that was around 42% of the total exports in the year 2021 and 22. So indeed this is a correct statement. First is even correct, just wrong, which one is wrong? Just second. So correct option would be 1 and 3. Okay, here are the options. So just correct here, correct ones 1 and 3. Fine, in particular. Okay. Next question, which of the following taxes are considered as direct taxes? Direct and indirect taxes. So which among the following considered as direct taxes? Now see, personal income tax, minimum alternate tax, MAT, then corporation, then STT, and then value added tax. So direct taxes जिसका इंसिडेंट इम्पैक्ट सेम पर्सन पे होता है या कंपनी पे हो सकता है, ठीक है. सो let me tell you something bit about this MAT and STT. So MAT is basically it's a kind of provision in direct tax laws only to limit the tax exemption availed by the companies. Fine. Basically they avoid the tax under the garb of tax exemption that they have been granted by the government, and this is what the government imposed MAT in order to restrict this this route of through which they basically this uses this route of exemptions in order to save on taxation. This one is STT, security transaction tax. Whenever we deal with the securities, fine, long term, short term, so upon them upon these securities, whatever gains we we are having or this profits we are making, so upon those profits the government basically charge STT, security transaction tax. Then further if you see we have VAT. So it's easy to eliminate VAT, in fact which has been subsumed under GST now. So VAT is nothing but an indirect tax and not a direct tax. So that's why this option purely seems to be incorrect. So we are left with just 1, 2, 3 and 4. Safely we can say B is the correct option. Fine. Okay, let us move to the next question. Next is about recession and yield inversion. So recession, yield inversion, kindly read this statement. This seems to be a technical one from the economics. Fine. So recession typically involves the overall output in economy contracting for at least 2 consecutive quarters. Focus here, at least 2 consecutive quarters. We call even this as technical recession. Fine. Then yield inversion happens when yields for long duration bonds are higher than the yields on shorter duration bonds. Here is an issue itself in this statement. What's that issue? Yield inversion. Inversion is what? Inversion is ulta, inverted. Like any curve is like this is if this is curve, like then this would be inverted curve. Like if this is going like this, if this is going like this, earlier it was going like this, now it's going like this. So of course it has been inverted. Earlier you had the positive return, now you are having the negative returns. Fine. So that's why it has been it has been labeled as inversion. Fine. Yield inversion. So yield inversion happens, remember, mostly the thing is ki higher the duration, longer the duration, longer would be the yield or longer would be the return. Fine. When yields for longer duration bonds are higher than the yields on shorter duration bond. No, this is this is very much true statement in case of normal yield or return that we get, not the inversion. When there is an inversion means things has been interchanged. So here shorter duration bonds will be having the higher return compared to the longer duration bonds. Fine. In case of inversion. In case of normal scenario as usual scenario, this statement is very much correct, but this is not correct for the yield inversion type of return, or you can say yield inversion. One can predict a recession by looking at the yield inversion in some economies. Yes, this is very much correct in the US economies, but US economy, for the US economy particularly. So that's why statement 1 seems to be correct, statement 3 seems to be correct. The only wrong statement here is 3, this 2, yield inversion one. Fine. So we can safely say the correct option is 1 and 3 only. Okay. Now consider the following related to the CPI, RBI, this. So first is in India, MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation measures inflation. Fine. The second statement reads that RBI through its monetary policy, MPC controls money supply in the market. This seems to be very much correct. Easier one. Then inflation is indicative of the increase in the purchasing power. Now inflation is saying indicative of the increase. Is it so? Not at all. In the purchasing power of a unit of a country currency, no. If inflation is there, means earlier you used to import, let us say, something for rupees 100, now you are importing 100, you are getting, let us say, not 1 liter of crude, that is less than 100 in country itself. Let us say कुछ और ले लेते हैं, so that की so let us say earlier we used to import crude for rupees 90 in terms of rupees, let us say 1 liter of this petrol, fine. But now this seems to be due to inflation, now we are importing it for 95 rupees, just 1 liter, fine. So somewhere the purchasing power or purchasing capacity of our currency, the country currency, that is rupee, has been reduced and not increased, fine, isn't it? Earlier we used to pay just 90 rupees, now we are paying 95 rupees, means 5 rupees our rupee has been depreciated, fine, reduction in the value. So that's why this is wrong. First and second statements are correct, so only correct here is 1 and 2, that is option B. Okay, next question. Now we will be starting from the environment section. So phytoremediation is a candidate, phytoremediation, then we have metals, and then we have hyperaccumulation. What are these things? So kindly read and try to answer it. Okay. Yes, quickly. Focus on what has been asked. The question is related to the incorrect and not the correct here. So phytoremediation is a remediation method that uses living organisms like plants, microalgae and seaweeds to reduce the concentration or toxic effect of contaminants in the environment. This is very much true. Phyto means what? Phyto means basically the plants. Remediation, how to remedify the whatever toxication we or toxic effects we generally encounter in the environment. So metals like cadmium and all this, nickel, cobalt and this lead, organic pollutants even, can be easily removed from the soil through phytoremediation. This statement we need to check. Then hyperaccumulator plant slows down the process of phytoremediation. Hyper slows down. Do you think so? Hyper and slows down. Doesn't it seem to be a contradictory statement? But not at all. Doesn't seems to be correct here. I mean, seems to be correct here. How so? So remember, phytoremediation, the statement is, first statement of the definition is very much correct. Second, let us talk about second. So one particular way to remove toxic heavy metals from the soil includes the use of hyperaccumulator process. Basically the plants, hyperaccumulators are basically the plants, since we are dealing with the phytoremediation. So phyto is plant, as I said initially. So hyperaccumulators are generally the plants that absorb these substances from the soil, fine. That's why they are referred to as a hyperaccumulator, fine. Hyperaccumulator does have this unusual ability to absorb. Why these are called hyper? Because they have the ability to absorb around hundreds or thousands of times greater amounts of these substances than in the normal, than is normal for any plant to absorb, any other plants to absorb. So 100 and 1000 times more, absorbent these are. That's why they are called this this kind of plants are referred to as a hyperaccumulator plants. Fine. I hope you understood the intensity in terms of intensity. So that's why. Then this process can be used to remove metals like silver, cadmium, cobalt, chromium and all. So incorrect here is incorrect. Since a hyperaccumulator plant slows down the process of phytoremediation, it correct. And metals like cadmium of this, which one is? Yes, Metals like cadmium, cobalt, pollutants can easily be removed from the soil through phytoremediation. No, this can be removed through hyperaccumulators. And this hyperaccumulator plants slows down the process of phytoremediation. No, if they have the ability to absorb hundreds and thousand times more than the normal plants, then how can it be a slow process? No, rather than that's why I said ki hyperaccumulator, when there is something hyper, it cannot be slow. It's contradictory things here. So what are these incorrect statement here? 3 is incorrect. Second, metals like this organic matter can be easily removed from the soil through phytoremediation. This can easily be removed through hyperaccumulator plants and not phytoremediation as such. So we are left with the 2 incorrect options here, 2 and 3. First is very much correct. So let us go to the check the option. So we have third C as 2 and 3. So that's why both of them are incorrect. Now let us go to Australia. Now let us make a land. Let us land to Australia now from India. So Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest coral reef system located off the coast of Queensland in Australia. I hope all of us are aware, even if we are having the basic knowledge of geography. And Great Barrier Reef is in the list of heritage sites in danger. Now here is a catch. Great Barrier Reef, no doubt due to danger and all, discussions were going on in the committees of this World Heritage at the UNESCO World Heritage Center that this IUCN in particular and UNESCO's World Heritage Center, both of them recommended that GBR, that is Great Barrier Reef, should be included under the list of World Heritage Sites because of the danger it is facing. Fine. So this is again under discussion or recommendations, and the final announcement has not yet been made. So that's why second option is not correct here. Only correct options are first and third. Of course, under this World Heritage Convention is describing a site in the list of heritage sites, danger allows the World Heritage. Yeah, this is very much related to what I said. That's why they recommended. So 1 and 3 are correct, 2 is wrong. Fine. Which of the following are correctly matched? Correctly matched: black hydrogen, pink hydrogen and gray hydrogen. Okay, black, pink and gray, 3 types of hydrogen. We need to figure out which has been matched correctly. So try to figure out. Yes, read it quickly and try to figure out. Black hydrogen. Okay, so black indeed produced by use of fossil fuel, black and emissions and all. Gray, remember, gray is produced through the use of natural gas, gray and gas. This is how you can remember things. Pink uses basically nuclear power sources, so of course produced through the electrolysis, but using energy from nuclear power sources. That's why. Fine. Even electrolysis being used under the green hydrogen. Another set of the fourth option could be green hydrogen and only produced through electrolysis. Fine. But in pink in particular, remember we use the nuclear power sources. Fine. So what seems to be correct here? The only correctly matched here is black. Since if one is wrong in this, of course other would also be wrong, because uske jo statement hai, jo correct option hai, that has been incorrectly mentioned before some other this options. So of course one incorrect makes other incorrect as well. So only correct here would be one only, that is black hydrogen. Okay, regarding CNG. CNG is comprised mostly of methane gas. बिल्कुल ठीक है. CNG engines run more quietly due to the higher octane rating of CNG over gasoline. Fine. CNG vehicles reduce harmful emissions. Yes, that's why we are more government encourages earlier, not now, even now, but now the focus more on is EV and all, electric vehicles and all, hybrids. But even government encourages especially to shift to the CNG because of all the attributes mentioned here. Of course, it is it emits lesser emissions as compared to the other like petrol and diesel vehicles. So of course, because of all these three attributes which are very much correct, remember CNG has been referred to as a cleaner fuel. ठीक है, so all of them are correct here. All three statements are correct. Next is regarding tar balls. Tar balls or tar balls. Tar balls are dark colored. Please read it. Sticky balls of oil that are found on the ocean surface are formed by weathering of crude oil in marine environment. Usually tar balls are washed away from the beaches during monsoon. Fine. So read it and try to answer it. Tar balls होती क्या है? So of course remember it, these are dark colored sticky balls of oil that form कैसे होती हैं? So these are formed when crude oil floats on the ocean surface during transportation. Tar balls are formed by weathering of crude oil in marine environment. Very much correct. And even let us say why these tar balls found on the beaches during the monsoon. There could be a question. So remember that it is suspected that the oil basically comes from the large cargo ships in the deep sea and gets pushed to the shore as tar balls during monsoon due to wind speed and direction. So these are generally found on the beaches during the monsoon due to the wind speed and the direction of the wind. Fine. Okay, so what are the correct options here? The third is usually tar balls are washed away from the beaches. No, not washed away, rather they are found on the beaches due to the wind direction and wind speed. So third is incorrect, 1 and 2 only correct. Next is regarding green turtles. Green turtles. Okay, named because of the greenish color of their shells. First statement is they are called green because of their shells. Is it so? They are found mainly in the tropical and subtropical waters. Unlike other sea turtles, they do not migrate long distances. So third statement, even if you don't know, let us start with the third statement. They do not migrate. You can, for a second you can pause here and think whether seems to be this option, statement seems to be correct or not. So indeed they can migrate to long distances like other sea turtles. Fine. So third statement is very much incorrect. First is, remember, greenish color of their shells. They are called green turtles not because of the greenish color of their shells, rather they are called green turtles because of the greenish colors of their cartilage and the fat, and not their shells. Remember, because of the cartilage and fat, not because of shells in particular. So that's why they are called green. And of course, indeed, second statement is very much correct, that they are found mainly in tropical and subtropical waters. So correct here is only 2. Only 2, B option. Okay, consider the following statement regarding Aichi biodiversity target. I hope all of you have gone through this Aichi biodiversity targets where you have been failed to achieve, and none of the country in the world has achieved the 20 targets of the Aichi. Or met all the targets. So kindly read the statements. This was adopted during 2010. Yes, it was adopted in 2010 during the CBD summit, that is Convention of Biological Diversity. Fine. Convention on Biological Diversity 2010, and the summit was organized in Nagoya. That's why even Nagoya Protocol is there, located in Japan's Aichi. Included the goals such as reducing deforestation by at least half during the coming decade, that is by 2020. But you can see that we have failed miserably to achieve this target. Not just we, India, but I am talking about the whole world. So statement 1 is very much correct. Second is, after parties adopted the Aichi targets, they were expected to devise their own national biodiversity strategies, and that would mimic the goals laid out by Aichi. Yes, this was one of the this objective, or you can say this one of the expectations that other countries would adopt, and thereby they will work towards having national targets or strategies by mimicking this. These are the goals mentioned under Aichi. So 1 and 2 correct. Met all. I have already said none of the country in the world have met all the goals. So this is very much incorrect. Correct statement just 1 and 2. Fine. Okay. Next is regarding Indian roof turtle. Earlier we had this green turtles. Now particularly Indian roof turtle. Indian roof turtle. So read it. and try to answer it. Can be distinguished by the distinct roof at the topmost part of the shell. It is listed on appendix 1 of the sides. We have different sets of appendices under sides based on their vulnerability. Fine. It is found in the major rivers of South Asia. Is it so? Read and try to find out the correct answer here. Okay. So remember, as the name mentioned, Indian roof turtles. So of course they have the top, they have roof like a structure, or this looks like roof at the topmost part of their shell. That is very much correct. It is listed on the appendix 1 of sides, yes, because of this danger and all. It is found in the major rivers of South Asia. Yes, because India lies in South Asia. So if it is Indian roof turtles, so of course by connection we can say, by this logic we can say that of course it would have been found in the major rivers of South Asia. So all the three statements are correct here. Next is Climate Transparency Report 2020 provides an overview. So which among the following grouping has okay, the statement is overview of the key facts and figures on the state of climate performance. Pardon, it's climate here, CLIMAT missing. Climate performance of which of the following grouping. So of course I have already marked the answer as well. Oh, by mistake. So yes, the correct option here is G20, D itself. Climate Transparency Report provides a concise overview of the facts and figures related to the state of climate performance. Fine. And this is, basically in 2020, the report especially highlights the link between the climate emergency and energy crisis. And this is basically the report of G20, of which we are the host country for this year, or we have the presidency of G20. So G20 is important from exam point of view. Kindly be do remember all the facts related to G20 particularly. So the sites ensures, next question is related to again sites. The regulation of the international trade of wild animals and plants so that their survival is not threatened. Of course, sites appendices related to all this, vulnerability, threatened, extinction and all. The World Wildlife Trade Report provides assessment of the global trade of animals and plants that are regulated by CITES. Yes, both are correct, seems to be correct. International trade of wild animals, first statement, and second statement even global trade of animals and plants. So if one seems to be correct, the other would also seems to be correct and would be correct. So both are interrelated statements. That's why the correct option here would be C, both 1 and 2. Okay, next question please. It's related to hippopotamus. Yes, hippopotamus. So kindly read it and try to figure out the correct answer. Yes, quickly. Yes. So statement is first is large semi-aquatic mammal native to sub-Saharan Africa. Second is hippopotamus. Hippopotamus is the largest land mammal on earth. Okay. Indeed, it's the largest land mammal on. It's one of the largest land mammal on earth. Remember, not the largest one. Others we have, you can say like elephants, rhinos, and it's large semi-aquatic mammal indeed native to sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, and appendix, this Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, that is CITES, has banned international export-import of the body parts of hippopotamus. But it is not so, it is not banned, rather this has, during export and import of the parts and derivatives related to the hippopotamus, this requires CITES documentation to be obtained and presented to the border authorities, while making imports and exports. This has not been totally banned. So that's why only correct option here is which one? Yes, 1 only, and not the 2 and 3. 2, 3 is wrong. So 1 only is the correct statement here. Correct option B, and the statement is 1. Fine. Okay. Next is the Chappad Black Buck Sanctuary. Okay, the Tal Chappad Black Buck Sanctuary that was recently seen. Now let us now remember, we don't even let us say we have not even listened about this particular sanctuary even for once in our lifetime. So still this question can be very much is in our hand. How? Black buck incident, you might majority of us might be aware, Salman Khan and black buck relations, so black buck and Salman Khan issue, I'm just quoting to explain you, not to any ulterior motive kind of things. So black buck sanctuary that was recently seen in news is located in which part? So black buck was hunted down, or I don't know hunted down or not, but as has been claimed, and that's why Vishnoi committee of Rajasthan protest against, and even recently one of the Vishnois in prison, locked in prison, even this what Dhamki di thi? Yes, to kill this Salman Khan. So of course, so Vishnoi committee used to worship black buck, so that's why Vishnoi committee is from Rajasthan. So of course this is very easy to crack this question, that Rajasthan, this sanctuary probably would have been located in Rajasthan. This much risk we need to take. So of course the correct statement, correct answer here is Rajasthan in fact. So C only. Consider the following statement regarding hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs. Okay. Read quickly and try to understand. This answer it. Kigali amendment to the Montreal Protocol was, of course, was in news. Even we ratified, means India also ratified this Kigali amendment to Montreal Protocol, and which is legally binding. Yes, this is a legally binding. So correct statement here. First is on an average several thousand times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Yes, and HFCs have very high potential to deplete the stratospheric ozone layer. No, here is this statement is wrong. Remember, HFCs does have very high potential, global warming potential rather, and not the potential to deplete your stratospheric ozone layer. Fine. So that's why this statement seems to be wrong. Remember, has much more global warming potential, but not more of potential to deplete the stratospheric ozone layer. So that's why third statement is incorrect. Just two are correct. Kigali amendment of course is a binding, this legally binding. Fine. So that's why this is correct, this is correct. Third one is not very high potential. Global warming potential बहुत ज़्यादा है, global warming potential, but not potential to deplete the stratospheric ozone layer. Had this been the case, then of course probably wouldn't have been shifted to the HFCs or HFCs. So that's why correct option here, first, second, just 1 and 2, not the 3. So B option is correct here. Next, now we are starting with the geography section. So first is related to the fault. A fault is a place with a long break in the rock that forms the surface of the earth. Very much true. Fault is what? A kind of break in the rock. When an earthquake occurs on one of the faults, the rock on one side of the fault slips with respect to the other. Yes. And Indonesia is not located on the fault lines in the Pacific basin. Now this is problematic because Indonesia is located in the circum-Pacific ring or the ring of fire, to which you say this is around 45,000 kilometers long ring, 40,000 kilometers in particularly, where a majority of the world's earthquake basically occurs. Fine. So indeed Indonesia is located on this arc or the ring among in this area of ring of fire or Pacific ring of fire. So this is not correct. It should be located, not located. So correct is just 1 and 2 only. C option. Next we need to match the volcano and location. So Krakatoa. Where is Krakatoa? Yes. So Krakatoa is Indonesia. Mount Vesuvius is in where? Is Italy? Yes. Mount Fuji, Fujiyama, Japan, and Mount St. Helens, not Helenas. So it is in US. So let us match it. Krakatoa is in Indonesia, Mount Vesuvius, Italy, Mount Fujiyama, Japan, and Mount St. Helens is in US. So 4, 3, 2 and 1. So let us check the option, which one is correct here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a C? Yes, C. So C is the correct option. Okay, next is the geothermal gradient or magma and all. So let kindly read this statement and try to find out the correct answer. Yes. What seems to be correct here? First is geothermal gradient or slope is the rate of temperature change with respect to increasing depth in the Earth's interior. Yes, temperature goes on increasing as we go deeper in the Earth's surface. Interior. Magma is lighter than solid rock and hence it rises. Yes, magma is a fluid, has more fluidity. That's why it is lighter and it, rises. And it, remember, magma is what? Magma is what? The fluid part of your this, which comes out from the Earth's surface. And whenever this magma reaches the Earth's surface or the Earth's crust, it is basically referred to as lava. Fine? Lava. Even if you used to have lava mobile phones. Yes. Third statement is usually magma that is thick and sticky leads to explosive volcanic eruptions compared to magma that has low viscosity. Yes, this is again correct. Viscosity is what? Viscosity is the fluidity of any substances, especially this property of fluids. Like for example, water which has low viscosity, find the thickness of this liquid or the fluid, while honey, particularly shahad, has more viscosity compared to the water. So water is thinner than the honey. Yes, so that's why this is even correct, that the magma that is thick and sticky leads to explosive volcanic eruptions compared to magma that has low viscosity. Yes, the thicker would be more, the thicker and sticky would be more, will erupt more or would be more explosive. So all the three statements seems to be positive here and all the three statements are correct. That's why. Okay, statement regarding cyclones. Okay, so a cyclone is a low pressure system, that's we know, that forms over warm water. Yes, if warm water means high temperature and low pressure area, that is very much correct. And fine. Next is, kindly read the statements. It is a system of high speed winds blowing clockwise in the northern hemisphere. Here is issue. Remember, it blows counterclockwise or anti-clockwise in northern hemisphere and clockwise in southern hemisphere. So that's why this statement is wrong. Tropical cyclones in the formative stages of their development are very calm and does not cause. Remember, cyclone by itself, whether it is in formative years or in maturity, does causes what? A threat to life and property. So even this statement is wrong. Not cause, rather causes. So correct here is just 1, 2 and 3 wrong. Option A correct. Consider the following next related to the India is the only country which produces tobacco in 2 seasons. Next is related to tobacco. India is the largest tobacco producing country in the world. Is it so? Need to check it, largest or not. Tobacco is the only plant which is not pollinated. Not pollinated. Is it so? Need to check. Because it seems to be a negative statement. So tobacco in 2 seasons, remember this is a factual thing. There's of course India is the only country on this planet which produces tobacco in 2 seasons. Because we have more tobacco. So India is the largest tobacco producing country in the world, not at all. China is rather the leader. We come at second position, and tobacco is the only plant which is not pollinated. Even this is wrong. Tobacco is indeed pollinated by the moths. M-O-T-H-S. Tobacco is indeed pollinated by moths. Remember. So 2 and 3 both are wrong. Largest is China and not India. Only correct is 1. Fine. We produce in the 2 seasons. Remember that. So next is fall in temperature along with the moisture and light winds over the Indo-Gangetic plain results in dense fog over the region. Is it so? Fall in moisture leads to dense fog. Yes. Is it so or not? Okay. Second is western disturbances, which are storms that originate in the Mediterranean Sea. Yes. Bring moisture bearing winds to the northwest India. Very much true. Afghanistan, Pakistan and then western part, Punjab and all. Okay, due to western disturbances, we experience such this moisture related issues. Then only western disturbances causes fog in the northwest India. I have said that try to focus on the extreme statements. Only, not only. Is it so? Only western disturbances causes fog in the northwest India. Is it so? Not. No. So what could be the other factors? Remember, Mediterranean Sea, of course, very much true. Western disturbance originates in the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. So in the absence of, remember, western disturbances, there are other factors which can lead to or which can cause fog over northwest India. And what could be those factors? So I am talking about in the absence of this western disturbances, there could be local moisture sources like water vapor from rivers. Fine. Local moisture sources like water vapor from rivers, and soil moisture can also cause fog. Fine. Both this local moisture like water vapor and even soil moisture can cause fog in the absence of western disturbances. So it's not like only western disturbances will cause fog in the northwest India. Not so. So correct here is just 1 and 2 and not the 3. So let us mark it as just 1 and 2 correct. That is option. Which one is correct? 1 and 2, that is A. Okay, next is again related to fog. Since we are the previous question was related to fog, let us again match it. So there are 3 types of fog given here: radiation, advection and valley fog. So try to match it quickly. So valley fog generally found in the mountainous regions. So safely we can say valley fog, it is a result of mountains preventing dense air from escaping and in which the fog is trapped in. Fine. Of course, mountain, that's what the the role of mountain plays in the this weather mechanism. Second is C option is it forms on account of calm winds and western disturbances. Which one? Advection, advection is related to, yes, advection is related to yes. So what should be correct here? Radiation fog is basically forms on account of calm winds and western disturbances. Remember, advection fog is rather forms when there is a warm and moisture passes over cool surface, kind of collision of fronts, warm front and cold front. So there we'll see the formation of advection fog. Radiation fog, it forms on account of calm winds and western disturbances. Fine. So correct is C, A and B, cab. Fine. C, A, B. So the D is the correct option here. Okay, consider the following instrument regarding bomb cyclone. Now what is bomb cyclone? Seems to be some new something new. Okay, bomb cyclones. So bomb cyclones form when air near Earth's surface rises quickly in atmosphere, triggering a sudden drop in barometric pressure. Bomb cyclones arise in mid-latitudes where fronts of warm and cold air might collide, is collision, and all bomb cyclones are hurricane. Now again extreme statement, all, extreme word, all, none, only, not. Kindly pause over such words. So bomb cyclones क्या होते हैं? Bomb cyclone indeed is simply a storm that intensifies very quickly or rapidly. That's why it is called bomb cyclone. Like bomb, it is very much explosive or rapid in its in its intensity, or intensifies quickly or rapidly. Bomb cyclones form when air near Earth's surface rises quickly and triggering a sudden drop in the barometric pressure. So statement 1 is correct. Bomb cyclones arises in the mid latitude, so front might collide. Yes, frontal collision leads to formation of bomb cyclones in the mid latitudes. Fine. And they rarely strike in summer. Not all bomb cyclones are hurricanes. Fine. Hurricanes tend to form in tropical areas, remember, and most common in summers. But unlike hurricanes, bomb cyclones arises in mid latitudes, and these are rarely, we rarely experience such bomb cyclones during summer. Is the biggest difference. So of course, all bomb cyclones are not the hurricanes. So correctly, we can, safely we can say the statement 1 and 2 correct, and 3 is, wrong. This is not 2, but this is 3. Third statement is wrong. Fine. Okay, moving ahead. Next is related to the polar vortex. Lots of questions today from geography, because earlier we didn't find much of many questions from geography section. So we have today, for this month, lots of questions from geography part. That's good. Okay, polar vortex. Kindly read this statement and this question and try to answer it. Polar vortex is a mass of cold low pressure air that consistently hovers over the Arctic region. Of course, it's a cold and low pressure air. If it is an Arctic region, it would be cold and low pressure only. Fine. Arctic, cold, simple. Now we need to check it whether it forms over Arctic or not. That's the that's the issue here. But if it would be in the Arctic region or cold, then of course it would go with the Arctic. Next is spins in clockwise direction just like a hurricane does. No, it rather spins in anti-clockwise direction. Remember, or counterclockwise, spins counterclockwise just like hurricane does, because hurricane even are just hurricanes what? Tropical cyclones, just another name for Mexican, US and Mexico areas. So of course, like anti-clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction, just like hurricanes. So here it should have been anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So second statement is wrong. The weakening of the polar vortex influences the jet stream, which pushes the polar cold air towards the mid latitude regions. Even third seems to be very much correct, because of course the weakening of polar vortex influences the jet stream. What are jet streams? An area of, remember, fast moving air that surrounds the polar vortex. Jet stream are basically the jets of or the streams of fast moving air, fine, which surrounds the polar vortex, which makes the vortex weaker, fine. So that's why 1 and 3 correct, second is incorrect. So correct statement here is B only. Correct option is B. Next is regarding Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, MRTP Act. Fine, we'll see now. We're moving towards the government schemes. So what does it says? The MTPA, that is Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, has not been amended since inception. But if you have little bit idea, it was recently amended. I mean, not recently, but the year 2021. So first statement is correct on the basis of this information. Fine. Next is the MTPA Act recognizes abortion as a choice of the women. Had it been the choice, has it been the choice for women to abort, then it would be it would be altogether different scenario. Fine. So it cannot be granted as a choice to abort. Fine. Otherwise, it could lead to disastrous impacts in the society. So of course, abortion is not a matter of choice. Remember this thing. So first is even wrong, second is even wrong. So what is correct here? Third, let us read to third. It makes medical termination of pregnancy legal in India under specific conditions. Yes, that's why it's an act. An act make things, of course. What is the need of act? To make the things legal, provide some legal provisions. So only statement which is correct here is 3 and not the 1 and 2. Okay, moving ahead. Consider the following statements related to DG यात्रा. Okay, DG यात्रा. चलो अभी नहीं भी पता, let us assume कि DG यात्रा है क्या. यात्रा तो at least हिंदी word यात्रा, traveling. So we, on the basis of that, even we can try to figure out. So DG yatra envisages that travelers pass through a various checkpoints at the airport through paperless and contactless processing. Yatra. So yatra se you can connect here something about travelers or traveling. So let us assume for the moment this is a correct statement. DG yatra works on a facial recognition technology. If you have little bit this news in mind, so facial recognition has been allowed at many of the airports in India, especially the Indira Gandhi airport. So of course, DG Yatra Foundation is a joint venture company where Airport Authority of India is a majority shareholder. Now even this statement seems to be correct. That's why this question becomes a little difficult or tricky, because Airport Authority of India, by just reading this statement, this seems to be yes, yeah, it is possible. Airport Authority of India, which regulates the airports in India, so it would be definitely a majority shareholder. But that's not the case. Airport Authority of India is not a majority shareholder. Airport Authority of India has just 26% of the shareholding. Majority means 51% minimum. not 26%, just 26%. So third is wrong. First is very much correct, and now need to check the second statement. So third wrong means C and D gone. We are just left with A and B. So remember, even A and B, I mean this second statement is very much correct. So correct here is 1 and 2, as I mentioned about the facial recognition. Next is another scheme regarding Pradhan Mantri Adi Adarsh Gram Yojana. Adi Adarsh, not Adarsh Gram Yojana, it's Adi Adarsh, is a difference. So Pradhan Mantri Adi Adarsh Gram Yojana is the modified version of a special central assistant SCA to TSS, that is tribal service scheme. Yes, it aims at providing basic infra in villages with significant tribal population in convergence. If it is a rebranding of the another scheme related to tribal, so of course it would be somewhere focusing on providing the infra facility to the tribal villages. Seems to be correct. Yes. Okay. Next is, it is it is implemented by the Union Ministry of MOTA, that is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Of course, we are talking about tribes and tribes only. So which the ministry here would be none other than the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. In short, we call it MOTA, Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Fine. So of course, which of the following statement correct? All three seems to be correct. Yes. Okay. Next, Aadhaar is a verifiable 12-digit identification number. First of all, need to check out whether it is a 12-digit or 16-digit. Fine. सो अपने अपने आधार कार्ड निकाल के देख लेना कि ये 12 डिजिट है कि 16 डिजिट है. अगर याद है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, नहीं है तो चेक कर लेना. द मास्क आधार implies displaying only the first 4 digits. Masked, no, it implies displaying only the first 4 digits. No, only the last 4 digits. You see, majority of the things when some things are encrypted, you see the last 4 digits of even of your bank accounts and not the initial, So initially you should you see it has been marked like a star star star. Last 4 digits आपको दिखते हैं. Or whatever 3 digits, 5 digits, different provisioning of Aadhaar number and replacing the last 8 digits of Aadhaar number with some characters, of course, encryption. The mass Aadhaar facility has been in place since the launch of Aadhaar facility. No. Had it been the case? Let us check it out. Is it so? Had it been the case, then what is the need for this, doing with this thing, to masking? No. So first is of course a 12 digit. मुझे याद है it's a 12 digit number. ठीक है. Implies first 4, no, it's last 4. And the mass Aadhaar facility has been in place since the launch of Aadhaar facility. No, rather this was introduced in the year 2018. Fine. Masking of Aadhaar was allowed in 2018, not since the launch of the Aadhaar. So both the statements are incorrect. Only correct is 1. Okay. Next is Mark portal that aims to. Mark portal is related to. Now let me first give you the full form of Mark, then you might be able to crack the correct option. So Mark is Marg. Marg is first is mentorship, A is advisory, then another A assistance, R resilience, and G is growth. Is a one-stop platform to facilitate mentorship for whom? Startups across diverse sectors. So it is simple, facilitate mentorship for startups across the diverse sectors. C is the correct option. The Consumer Protection Act Corporate Act 2019 guarantees which of the following rights for the consumers in India? So of course this seems to be right to choose, right to be heard, right to be informed, right to safety. All of them seems to be the positive rights. So of course all of them are correct. Apart from this, there are 2 additional rights, and these are right to you can write it. The another 2 rights which it provides, that is the right to consumer education and right to seek redressal, grievance redressal. Okay. Next is Manrega. Now this is very good question I found. Manrega is a supply-led scheme guaranteeing at least 100 days of unskilled work to any rural household that wants it. Remember, if it is a supply-led scheme for a moment, then how it can how is it possible that it is granted only when the people wants it? Means if you are wanting something, means you are demanding and not supplying, isn't it? So that's why these 2 statements, these 2 things here are contradictory. So first statement gone. supply led scheme nahi, it's a demand led. If you are wanting it, means you are demanding it and not supplying it, isn't it? Okay, so it's a demand led scheme, not supply led. Remember this. Statement 1 is wrong here. Women are guaranteed 1/3 of jobs. Very much true. 1/3 reserved for women. And if work is not provided within 15 days, then applicants are entitled to an unemployed allowance. Even this is very much correct. It's purely factual information. So 2 and 3, both the statements are correct here. Fine. Okay. Now moving ahead. Next question. Kindly read it. Now we'll be starting with the next section, and that is related to interesting one, science and tech. So read the first question, easier one. Semi-automated offside technology. Offside technology. Recently seen in news is mainly used in, yes, which of the following? Cricket, offside, onside? Kindly read it. Remember, it is a technology related to football, which was introduced by FIFA in the previous year, the last year's this World Cup, Football World Cup. Now, what is this technology exactly? So, this technology basically uses, remember, 12 dedicated tracking cameras, which tracks the ball and even tracks the different movement points of each and every player. Fine. For example, 50 times per second means 1 second it can measure 50 different types of movements of a player and calculating their exact position on the pitch. Fine, the football pitch. So that's why it is a technology which is associated with football, semi-automated offside technology. Fine. So football is correct here. Easier one but difficult one at the same time. Consider the following statements regarding NTDs, that is neglected tropical disease. We are a tropical country, so neglected tropical disease. Which diseases are generally neglected in our country? Any idea? Anybody? So there are infections that are common among marginalized communities in the developing regions of Africa and Asia, because of course these are the regions lies in tropics, isn't it? Yes. So they are caused by a variety of pathogens, such as bacteria, viruses, protozoa, parasitic worms. So let me tell you that this is a correct statement. They can be caused by either of these pathogens. HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis are some of the prominent NTDs, that is neglected tropical disease. Now, if we have lots of focus on HIV/AIDS, even the government is running program, malaria and tuberculosis. Had it been neglected, how come we will be focusing on them? Fine. So they cannot be neglected one. If you are focusing on them, if you have a planning for them, you have a policies for them. So third is safely wrong. 1 and 2 are correct. Only 1 and 2 are correct. Now, what are the examples? If third is wrong, then what could be the examples of NTDs? So let me give you the certain examples, like snake bite. Lot of people die because of snake bite. It's again kind of a neglected tropical disease. Scabies, trachoma, leishmaniasis. Fine. These are the diseases which are generally neglected, could be caused by either of the pathogens. Next is stiff person syndrome, stiffness. So stiff person syndrome, we'll see what all this syndrome, that is a stiff person syndrome, is all about. Stiffness. Hold on. Okay, stiff person syndrome. Read it. So stiff person syndrome is a rare autoimmune neurological condition. Of course, it is related to neurological phenomena. It affects the central nervous system and can cause rigidity throughout the body and painful muscle spasms. Rigidity, stiffness. There is no cure for stiff person syndrome. So the treatment of focuses on symptom and pain management. Yes, indeed, this is one of the curable disease. So all of them, 3 seems to be correct. First is correct, very much correct, or related to autoimmune neurological conditions, disorder. It affects central nervous system, of course. Second statement is interrelated, and no cure. Yes, here it would might confuse this, but remember there is no cure for such syndrome, stiff person syndrome. Moving to the next question regarding lead content in human body. Lead content in human body. So read the statements and try to answer it quickly. Lead is stored in the teeth and bones where it accumulates over time. So lead is distributed in the brain, liver, kidney and bones, and it is indeed stored in teeth and bones and gets accumulated over time. WHO has identified lead as one of the chemicals of major public health concern. Yes, identified lead as one of the 10 chemicals of major public health concern. WHO has joined alliance with this UNEP in order to eliminate lead-based paints. Of course, WHO has joined this UNEP to form global alliance to eliminate lead paint. Left with third option, young children are most vulnerable to lead exposure because they can absorb it more than adults. Okay, vulnerability lies with everybody, but of course young children are more vulnerable compared to the adults. The given statement is very much correct. Fine. Remember, lead can damage, it's a toxic, and it can damage brain, kidney, liver, blood and even reproductive system. So it is a very dangerous, one of the dangerous heavy metals. Remember this. So all of them are correct. All of the above, all the 4 statements are correct here. Okay. Next is microwaves. Now let us move to the electromagnetic this spectrum. So move. Okay. Next is regarding microwaves. Now what are microwaves? They fall between infrared radiation and radio waves in the electromagnetic spectrum. Is it so? Glass and plastic material reflect microwaves. क्या microwave glass and material plastic से reflect हो सकती है? And microwaves of certain frequencies are absorbed by water. Is it so? Let us check it. So microwaves indeed, it can be defined as electromagnetic radiations which fall between infrared radiation and radio waves in the electromagnetic spectrum based on certain wavelength ranges like 1 millimeter to 30 centimeter. Properties क्या है? Metal surfaces reflect microwaves. Remember, metal surfaces reflect microwaves and not the glass and plastics, because microwaves can pass through glass and plastics. Fine. So metal surfaces reflect microwaves, but microwaves can pass through glass and plastics. So that's why second statement is wrong. Microwaves of certain frequencies are absorbed by water. Yes, this can be of certain frequencies, not of every frequency can be absorbed by water. So that's why this statement is correct. It's a certain and not all, remember, that's why correct. So 1 and 3 correct here. Second statement is wrong. Fine. So correct is C option. Consider the following statement regarding inactivated vaccines. Now we'll be having lots of typology of vaccines today. We'll see 3-4 different types of questions related to different types of vaccines. Fine. One question might be there related to types of vaccines. So let us start firstly with the inactivated. So what exactly is the inactivated mean? Yes, read quickly. Read the statements quickly, try to figure out the correct option here. So inactivated, as the name suggests, vaccines of this type are created by inactivating a pathogen. Yes, you find both the inactivation, inactivated word in both the statement and question itself. So of course inactivated pathogen typically using heat or chemicals. They have been inactivated using these things, and they are used in the protection against polio and rabies. It's a very much factual, we need to check it out. They provide strong immunity when compared to live vaccines. Not at all. I mean, they cannot never, remember the maximum or the highest immunity is provided by the live vaccines. Live vaccines means you are using, this, what? The live or attenuated this germ of that particular gene which has caused this, or germ that has caused the disease. So live, that's why. But inactivated vaccines use the killed version of that germ which causes a disease. Remember, inactivated means killed, active नहीं है, otherwise हमें ही kill कर देगा, isn't it? So that's why it is a killed. Under inactivated we use the killed version of that particular pathogen or particular germ that has caused the disease in the first place. So vaccine of this type are created by inactivated pathogen, typically used heat or chemicals for inactivating these germs, and then they usually don't provide immunity as strong as the live vaccines, as I said. So we may need several booster doses or additional doses. they have been used to protect hepatitis A, flu, shots only, and polio, rabies, etc. So of course they have been used for these purposes, polio and rabies. So first is correct, second is correct. Provide strong immunity? No. Rather, live vaccines provide strong immunity compared to the inactivated. So correct here is 1 and 2 only, not the 3. Which of the following statements best describe the term proton mail service? It's a proton mail service. So proton mail service came into the, news with related to the cyber attacks on the AIMS. Fine. So proton mail service is basically, it's an end-to-end encrypted mail service, email service, end-to-end encryption like WhatsApp and all. You see end-to-end encryption, that is the messages which can only be read by you and the sender and receiver, not by the third party. कहने की बातें कंपनी वाले तो कर सकते हैं. No idea, I'm not claiming this. Consider the following statements regarding live attenuated vaccines. ठीक है. So now focusing on live. So live vaccines uses a weakened form of germ that causes a disease. Yes, weakened form, not the killed form. Fine. Kindly read the statements and try to figure out the correct answer here. They are used against rotavirus and smallpox. Is it so? And they are generally given to people with weakened immune system. Okay. Live vaccines uses a weakened form of germ. Already uses weakened form of germ that causes a disease. Then how it can be given to someone which has low or weak immunity? Isn't so? Contradictory? Yes. So 1 and 2 are correct here. There has been they have been used for measles, mumps, rubella, rotavirus, smallpox among others. Fine. So live फर्स्ट ठीक है, वीकेंड फॉर्म ऑफ जम हम इसमें यूज करते हैं, ना कि किल्ड वर्जन हम यूज करते हैं किसमें, इनएक्टिवेटेड में. याद रखना डिफरेंस, लाइव में वीकेंड. दे आर यूज्ड अगेंस्ट रोटावायरस, इवन ये भी करेक्ट है. दे आर जनरली गिवन टू पीपल विद नॉट वीकेंड इम्यूनिटी सिस्टम और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड इम्यूनिटी सिस्टम. ठीक है. सो करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट्स हियर 1 and 2 only. Okay, next. Incovac vaccine, another type of vaccine, that is Incovac. It is the world's first intranasal vaccine for COVID-19 to receive approval, जो नोज के थ्रू दी जाती है. Okay, it can be used only as a booster dose. Now again, extreme word only. Like Covaxin, it uses an inactivated SARS-CoV-2 virus. Is it so? So remember, Incovac rolled out as a booster dose, but it is not meant to be given only as a booster dose. Remember this thing. It is the indeed world's first intranasal vaccine for COVID to receive approval, and for the primary 2 doses even scheduled for the approval. Unlike Covaxin, which has been inactivated SARS-CoV coronavirus disease 2 virus, the nasal vaccine contains only a part of it, namely the spike protein. ठीक है. So even this third is wrong, not inactivated but just the protein part, this is spike protein, and the second is wrong even, it is not just used as a booster dose. So just only correct is 1, both 2 and 3 rest are wrong. Next, again a type of vaccine, that is conjugate vaccine or recombinant vaccine. So lots of vaccines typology I said, I try to picked up all the types of questions because one of the question out of this 4-5 you can find in your exam. They can be used on people with weakened immune system and long-term health problems. They use specific species of the germ like proteins, sugar and capsid. Right? Please read it. Okay. So the third statement is these vaccines are used to protect against HIV, that is Haemophilus influenza type B disease, and hepatitis B also. So remember this, they use a specific species of germ like protein, sugar or capsid. Capsid is basically casing around the germ. Fine. So they give a very strong immune response or immunity. So this can be used over people with compromised immune system or weakened immune system in order to this provide them strong or boost their immunity. These vaccines are used to protect against HIV, ठीक है, hepatitis B, HPV, that is human papillomavirus and pneumococcal disease among others. So of course this is, so all 3 statements seems to be here positive ones, so all 3 are correct. Next is regarding toxoid vaccines. Don't worry, this is the last typology of vaccine or types of vaccine we are coming to. I think we have discussed 4 or 5 types. This is the last type. So they use a toxin, as the name suggests, toxoid. So toxin made by the germ that causes a disease. Toxoid vaccine is used to protect against diphtheria and tetanus, and they create immunity to the parts of the germ that causes a disease instead of the germ itself. Is it so? Let us check it. So first is very much correct, toxoid, so toxin. Toxoid vaccines are used to protect DPT, that is diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis. ठीक है? They create immunity to the parts of germ that causes a disease instead of germ itself. ये भी ठीक है. Fine, they use as a in order to create immunity to the parts of the germ, not germ itself. So all of the 3 are correct here. Remember, all of them, all 3 are correct. Now let us shift to the international organizations. Starting with the G20, not G20 but G33. So read it. The name could be confusing or misleading. Is a coalition of 33 developing countries. India is a member of this coalition, and it deals with the resolution of humanitarian issues in agriculture. Is it so? Let us check it out. So India is a part of G33 indeed, which is a group of 48 developing and least developed countries. Remember, the name could be, I said, misleading, not 33 just, but somewhere 48. Fine, 48. Okay. India is member of G33 coalition. Indeed, deals with the resolution of the WTO mandate issues in agriculture. बिल्कुल ठीक है. So correct here is 2 and 3, not first, not 33 but 48. So 2, 3 correct. 2, 3 is C only. Next is the Boao Forum for Asia is a China's equivalent of. So remember, Boao Forum for Asia has been proposed as, or this as a proposed as an alternative to none but World Economic Forum, like BRICS Bank, Asia Infrastructure Development Bank, like this. So China keeps on providing the alternative to the Western dominated bodies like World Economic Forum. So next is G20. G20 again, I said it is important. Now read it quickly. First statement is Intergovernmental Forum, 19 countries, European Union. That's correct. Was founded in, now here the first part of the statement is correct, but the second part is wrong, because it was founded in the wake of global economic and financial crisis of 2007. No, it was founded way back in 1999, not in 2009 or 7. So it was founded in the in the wake of the Asian financial crisis and not the this 2007 recession and all. Fine. So first is very much incorrect. Fine. So it represents G20, remember, 85% of the world's GDP, 75% of global trade, and 2/3, that is 75% of the world population. Okay? So first statement is not correct. It was, it came in the wake of Asian financial crisis of 90s, and it was set up in 1999 and not in 2007. So rest 3 statements are correct. 1 is wrong. The moment you delete 1, since यहाँ भी 1 है, वहाँ भी है, यहाँ भी है, the only option we are left with जहाँ पे 1 नहीं है, that is B. So safely आँख बंद करके भी टिक लगा सकते हो if you are sure about option this statement 1. Next is ECOSOC. So ECOSOC चर्चा में है, न्यूज़ में है, क्योंकि इंडिया मेंबर बना है ECOSOC का. ठीक है. So safely you can eliminate the statement at present India is not a member. It is indeed member. That's why the question is news. The UN Charter established ECOSOC as one of the 6 main organs. Is it so? Check it out, read it and find out. Of course, it is one of the 6 main organs of the United Nations. Then it is a principal international body dedicated to the promotion of gender equality and women empowerment. Since it is related to economic and social councils, so of course related to society and this empowerment, economic empowerment as well, and coordinates the work of UN organizations and issues policy recommendation to the UN system and to member states. Yes, this is the mandate of this particular body, ECOSOC, that is United Nations Economic and Social Council. Fine. So 4th is incorrect. अब seems again if you see 4th year, so 3 option में आपके 4 हैं. अगर 4th आपने delete कर दी easily, and you know India is very much member of this body, so you are left with just 1 option which is correct. This is 1, 2, 3. Next is border dispute between India and Nepal over the region which include Kalapani, Lipu Lake and Limpia Dura. and Susta. So which of the regions are located in Uttarakhand? Out of these 4 disputed regions, which among the following are located in the state of Uttarakhand? Fine, let us find out. Limpiadura of course is in Uttarakhand, Kala Pani is in Uttarakhand, Lipu Lake is in Uttarakhand, Susta the only second is in Bihar, not in Uttarakhand. So that's why we are 3 are in Uttarakhand, 1 is in Bihar. That's why the correct option is here 1, 3 and 4, because the question is about Uttarakhand. 1, 3 and 4, yes, C option is there. So 1, 3, 4 correct. Indian Ocean Region Forum recently is the initiative of. Indian Ocean Region Forum is an initiative of, remember it's an initiative of our arch rival China. Fine. Next, BIMSTEC countries. BIMSTEC we have already discussed a lot. Countries are partner to each of the following connectivity projects. So Kaladar multi-product project, kindly read it, go through it, check it out. Is it so? They are partners in all these projects or not? Check it out. Yes. So Kaladar multi project, remember it links India's northern east, especially this northeastern region of India and Myanmar. Then Asian trilateral highway. Trilateral means 3 countries. So we call it this IMT1, India, Myanmar and Thailand. IMT highway. Next BBIN, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal. So BBIN 4 countries are there. Motor vehicles agreement, of course, for seamless flow of passenger cargo. So all of the 3 seems to be connectivity projects. So all of 3 are correct. So 1, 2, 3 correct. Which of the following conventions govern various patent related matters? Now coming to the related to conventions that govern patent related matters. So let us find out. Patent related matters को govern करते हैं, इसमें से कौन कौन से? So Bern Convention of course is governs Paris, again related to this, and Budapest, that is in Hungary. Okay, so let me tell you which one governs what. So Bern Convention governs copyright. Budapest Treaty on the international recognition of deposit of microorganisms for purposes of patent procedure, microorganisms related and medical, basically you can say. Paris Convention for the protection of IP, that is industrial properties. Fine. And the Patent Cooperation Treaty. The 4th, we have treaty, that is Patent Cooperation Treaty, which governs this. So all these 4 governs this patent related matters. So all of them are correct. Next is 57th. Consider the following statements. Now we are starting the politics section. The first is related to Election Commission. Kindly read the statement and try to figure out the correct answer. Yes. So Election Commission of India draws its authority from Constitution. Of course, it's a constitutional body. It does not fix the size of the Election Commission. Yes, it has been left over to the President. Okay? And the Chief Election Commissioner and the other Election Commission enjoy the same status and receive salary and perks as Speaker of the Lok Sabha. No, they enjoy the perks and salary as the judges of Supreme Court and not the Speaker of Lok Sabha, right? So third is safely wrong. We are just left with 1 and 2 as the correct option. Fine. They enjoy the status and they receive salary and perks as judges of Supreme Court of India and not the Speaker. Next is the Representation of the People Act 1951 bars association with the religious connotations to register as political parties. Is it so? Read it, kindly read it and try to figure out the correct statement here. Yes. So representation of people bars association, no, it doesn't bars with religious connotation to register as political parties. For example, Shiv Sena, had it been the case, Shiv Sena wouldn't have been been as a political party. So of course this statement is wrong. Constitution of India provides Election Commission the power to deregister political parties. No, remember, Constitution of India doesn't provide the power to deregister the political parties to the Election Commission of India. It is a harsh reality, remember. It seems to be incorrect, but it is indeed correct. C. Election symbols order bars political parties from having symbols with religious or communal connotations. Not at all. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been arrow, bow and all. Fine. Even mace and all. So C is correct. Rest to first and second are wrong. So we are left with just 3 as correct option here. Fine. Just 3 as correct. Okay, Article 3 of the Constitution gives the Supreme Court of India exclusive jurisdiction to decide on the boundaries of the states. Is it so? Supreme Court को ये right देता है कि decide the boundary of the states. Is it so? Seems to be problematic, isn't it? Okay, it should be given this right to the Parliament, not the Supreme Court. The State Reorganization Act that was passed in 1956 was based on the findings of Justice Fazal Ali Commission. Is it so? Okay, so the State Reorganization Act was passed by the Parliament in 1956, this much you will know, and the act was based on the findings of none but the Justice Fazal Ali Commission. So second is correct, first statement is wrong. It's the jurisdiction of Parliament, not the Supreme Court. So 2 is correct, B is correct, and 1 is wrong. Okay, regarding elections in India. Elections in India. Absentee voters are those who are unable to physically cast their vote due to their service conditions. Can you read it? Can you read the statements? Can you read out the statements? There is facility second for absentee voters to vote through postal ballots. Yes, the returning officer is appointed by Election Commission of India, is the highest authority in the constituency. बिल्कुल ठीक है. And generally the DMs, district magistrates or DCs is the ex officio returning officer in the Lok Sabha election. ये भी ठीक है. So all the 4 seems to be correct here. So D is the correct option here. Next, both parliamentary state legislation are equal power to legislate on goods and services. Is it so? Seems to be a problematic statement. Had it been the case, states could have already passed the GST, instead of waiting for the Parliament to get the nod. ठीक है. But see, of course, states does rectifies unless and until half of the states are not rectifying your because this changes the federal nature of the country. Fine. So any act or anything which is related to the connected directly or indirectly to the or changing the federal nature of setup of the country. So of course this needs to be rectified by the half of the states legislature. ठीक है. So that's why both parliamentary legislation you are equal power to legislate on goods and service tax. Okay, correct statement. Then to give effect to GST regime, entries in the state list of Schedule 7th of the Constitution were either deleted or amended. No. Okay, to give effect to GST regime, entries in the state list of schedule. Okay, yes, deleted from the state list so that Parliament can have upper hand. Then recommendation of Goods and Service Tax Council are binding on any legislative body. No, this is not binding. Supreme Court has cleared it that this is not binding. So correct statement here are just 1 and 2, not the 3. This seems to be a little technical one or difficult one. Read it carefully. So third one is wrong. This is not binding. Remember, not binding. Just 1 and 2 are correct. Fine. It was not deleted but amended. The power under, okay, governor related question. Governors are always in news, so please mark it an important question, topic, governor, and try to figure out the correct answer here. Yes. It has been asked incorrect. So power under Article 1 is exercisable by the governor in relation to matters to which the executive power of the state extends. This is very much correct. Fine. This is very much correct. While the governor is bound by the rights of Council of Ministers, the binding nature of such advice will depend on the constitutionality of the same. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. अगर majority lose कर जाए Council of Minister, then the government is not bound to not bound by their advice. ठीक है. So incorrect क्या है? कुछ भी नहीं. So correct incorrect I mean correct दोनों ही है. Incorrect क्या है? कुछ भी नहीं. तो आंसर क्या होना चाहिए? पूछा है incorrect कौन सा है? कोई भी नहीं. Simple. So none of neither of 1 or nor 2 are incorrect. Next is Indian Constitution can be described as a federal in form but unitary in spirit. Federal in form but unitary in spirit. Is it so? Yes. ऐसा है क्या? Read it. Indian Federation is not the result of an agreement by the states, nor such as the right to cede from the Federation. Yes. The term Federation has been used in Article 1 of the Constitution where it describes India as a union of states. नॉट फेडरेशन बट यूनियन यूज हुआ है, रिमेंबर आर्टिकल 1 में, नो वेयर यूज फेडरेशन. सो थर्ड इज रॉन्ग, 1 and 2 are the correct statements. It's not, in our constitution article 1 doesn't use the word federation, rather it uses the union. India is the India, that is Bharat, is a union of a state and not the federation. So that's why this is this is incorrect. Correct पूछा हमसे, तो 1 and 2 are correct, not the third statement. So safely we can say B is the correct statement. Okay. Consider the following statement regarding the panel of the vice chairpersons of Rajya Sabha. लोकसभा में भी होते हैं, राज्यसभा में भी होते हैं. तो so read it. Read this question or statements. Read this statement, please. Yes, anybody? Yes. What are the correct answer here? So the chairman of Rajya Sabha nominates the panel of vice chairpersons from among the members. बिल्कुल ठीक है. In the absence of chairman or the deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha, any of the panel members can preside over the house. ठीक है. चेयरमैन एंड डिप्टी चेयरमैन नहीं होंगे तभी प्रिसाइड करते हैं, उनके प्रेजेंस में नहीं, ध्यान रखना. अकॉर्डिंग टू राज्य सभा रूल्स, नॉमिनेटेड मेंबर ऑफ राज्य सभा and not eligible to become the member of the panel. Even they are eligible, I think. Yes. So of course third statement is not correct. Only correct option is 1 and 2 here. So safely we can say the option A is correct. Fine. Okay. Next, 7th schedule. Okay. Directive principle of state policy. First is related to the 7th schedule. Second is related to DPSP. And in India has total prohibition of sale of alcohol. Prohibition. So read it. Read 3 statements and then try to figure out the correct answer here. Yes. It is saying according to 7th schedule of the constitution, alcohol is a concurrent subject. Is it so? Concurrent. Have you seen the government of India interfering in such matters? I don't think so anywhere. So safely said that 7th schedule, alcohol is a state subject and not the concurrent subject. Currently there are 5 states with total prohibition and not 10. ठीक है? Because this is one of the major source of revenue generation. So how come, that's why states, not majority of the states have, prohibited this sale of alcohol in their respective jurisdiction. So 1 is wrong because it comes under state list and not the concurrent list. Statement 3 is even wrong because it comes under, there are only 5 states in India and not the 10. So correct is, so what would be the correct option here? Just 2. The directive principle of state policy mentions about the prohibition of consumption of intoxicating drink except for medicinal purpose. Very much true. So 2 is correct here, 1 and 3 wrong. Why wrong? I have already told you. Now who among the following have the power to increase the retirement age of judges of the High Court and the Supreme Court of India? So who can increase the retirement ages of judges? Very easy question. Yes. Yes, it's a very easy question. Of course, it is in the hands of Parliament only. They can only change the laws. Consider the following statement regarding delimitation commission. Yes, again a probable question from this delimitation commission for this year's. ठीक है? Okay, read it. Read the statements. Try to figure out. Delimitation commission is appointed by the president and works in collaboration with the Election Commission of India. True. The orders of the delimitation commission cannot be challenged. Yes. Why? Because their orders are binding. Remember, final and binding. When the orders of delimitation commission are laid before the Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly, they cannot effect any modification in the orders. Yes, because they are binding. So all of the 3 statements are correct here. Fine, no problem with either of the statements. All of the 3 are correct. Once you know that these are binding, so second and third statements are very easily can be tracked. According to the Constitution of India, the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in the dispute between jurisdiction of Supreme Court. The government of India and one or more states, बिल्कुल ठीक है. The government of India and any state on one side and one or more other states on the other, 2 or more states on any matter. Okay, so try to figure out which one is correct here. two or more states on any matter. Two or more states on any matter. Third statement is incomplete. You see, two or more states on any matter. Against whom? Like first में government of India and other states, again second में government of India and any state on one side and other state on the other side. Third में two or more states on any matter. Against which, you know, two or more states एक side है, बाकी कौन है दूसरी side. So this is seems to be a, you know, incomplete statement. So we can safely delete statement 3. Two or more states on any matter. Yes, things should be like between the two or more states. Fine. If and so like any dispute arises which involves any question on which the existence or extent of the legal right depends. ठीक है? Like whether of question related to the law or fact arises between two or more states, not two or more states on any matter. ठीक है? Particularly the question related to a law or fact, not any matter. So issue here is any matter. There can be two or more states, between two or more states, but on matter related to facts or law. So 3 is wrong, 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, triple test. Recently the term triple test was seen in news in the light of Allahabad High Court order to the Uttar Pradesh government. The term triple test is in relation to, again is easier one. Triple test is related to, remember it's a reservation to OBCs in the local bodies. UP government was trying to provide a reservation, but Allahabad High Court stays this, put a stay on this particular policy, reservation policy. So Allahabad High Court ordered the Uttar Pradesh government to hold urban local bodies because of this, and you know, without reservation for OBCs, because the triple test requirement for the quota had not been fulfilled. Now what is triple test? So there are 3 things which need to be tested. The triple test requires the government to complete 3 tasks for finalization of reservation to OBCs in the local bodies. First is to set up a dedicated commission to conduct a rigorous empirical inquiry into the nature and implications of the backwardness in local bodies. Fine. So what 3 things we need to keep in mind? First is how much backward the particular community is, and for that we need to set up a commission. Fine. To find out. Then secondly, to specify the proportion of reservation required in local bodies in light of the recommendations of that particular commission. How much reservation we are going to provide or required actually on the basis of the recommendations of the commission which was set up under test 1. Now this is test 2 and triple test we said. So third test is to ensure that the reservation for SC, STs or OBCs taken together does not exceed an aggregate of 50% of the total seats that was given in the landmark judgment of Indira Sawhney judgment 1992 by the Supreme Court. Okay? So these are 3 tests. First, to set up a commission. Second, to grant reservation, required reservation based on the recommendation of that particular commission. And then in third statement, third test, to ensure reservation for ST, ST or OBC does not exceed the 50% limit. Fine, 50% ceiling. So this is what mentioned by this Allahabad High Court. That's why it states this particular policy. Okay, next is regarding Ahom kingdom. Ahom. So Ahom kingdom basically related to Assam. Ahom kings ruled large parts of what is now known as Assam. बिल्कुल ठीक है. And it was a multi-ethnic kingdom which is spread across the upper and lower reaches of Brahmaputra Valley. ये भी ठीक लगता है नहीं? Brahmaputra, Assam and all Arunachal and side. And Ahoms had a very friendly relation with the Mughals. Not at all. Ahoms engaged in rather serious conflict with Mughals between 1615 and 1682, remember, and even they defeated Mughals in the especially in the Battle of Sarai Ghat in 1671. Fine, 1671, and ठीक है. So remember कि Battle of Sarai Ghat, was basically fought between Ahom kingdom and this during the reign of Aurangzeb. ठीक है. So they were not in friendly relations but rather conflicting relations. Fine. So I think that's it for today. 17 questions. I think we have ended. Yeah, finished. All. So which one is correct here? Third is not correct here. They didn't have this cordial relation. So 1 and 2 are only correct here. Fine, and not the third one. So that's why the answer is 1 and 2. Okay. So for today we'll be stopping here because we have finished all the questions for the day, which for the months of December. Fine, the more important question, not I will say all the questions, but the important questions or the relevant ones from the months of December 2022. So we have covered from April to December 2022 questions. Fine. Now is keep revising. We'll be starting in the next class from the January 2023. Fine. So that's it from my side. If you have any query, you can put the same in the comment section or you can ask. Fine. That's it. If you have any query, kindly put or ask. Otherwise, we can call off the day. Fine. Okay. Okay, so if you no issue, so let us call off the day. Thank you for joining. See you next time. Until keep revising. Fine. Thank you.